Welcome to the Faithful Steward. This is a podcast all about sharing biblical wisdom and practical insights in order to help church leaders pursue and teach financial freedom as part of Christian discipleship. We believe this is a spiritual conversation, and this is a place where the church needs to lead the way in order to move our communities forward in how we steward God's resources. I'm your host, James Lenhoff, and I am so passionate about this conversation and helping leaders have the confidence to step into it. We believe that if we help people thrive financially and grow spiritually, it changes everything. And I am so excited to join you on this journey. This podcast is brought to you by Good Sense. If you'd like more information about what we're up to, you can go to our website at goodsensemovement.org. All right, let's get started with today's conversation. All right, so last week we set some of the foundation for what it looks like to be a faithful steward. And today we're going to talk about the first step in that process, which is being a diligent earner. You know, one of the things that I'm really passionate about is making sure we constantly come back to this reminder that stewardship is not just about money. And when we hear the term diligent earner, a lot of times we think, well, obviously we're talking about money. And clearly, earning money is part of that process. But I don't think there's a better example of how stewardship goes beyond just your financial situation than when we talk about this idea of being a diligent earner. Scripture is full of references that tell us we are to do work that honors God, that we are working unto the Lord. We are to be giving our talent and our skill into the work and the productive effort of co-creating, of bringing value, of helping others. There is a call to us being productive and doing meaningful work. It's always been that way. It was that way in the garden. There was tending and work in the garden before the fall. There was a really clear message in that creation story that we were created to do work, to be in co-creation and co-production with each other and with our King. And a lot of times when we think about earning, we go straight to well, you should earn as much as you can. You should build as big of a status and an achievement. You should become vice president of Muckety Mucks as fast as possible. You need to grow and continue to build your status and your title in order to prove to the world that you're valuable and that you're meaningful and that you matter. And so how do we frame earning inside the concept of faithful stewardship? How do we think about being productive and being co-creative, but still keep that in light of being faithful in how we're stewarding our time, our skills, our resources? And what I see a lot of times is that we kind of discard the rest of that conversation when we talk about earning. We can't really create boundaries and have space in our life and margin in our life because we just got to keep earning more. I got to keep climbing. I got to keep growing. I got to get to the next level, the next title, the next promotion. And that constant pursuit of more is what a lot of people rebel against. And I understand it. There's this bifurcation in how we talk about earning or how we think about earning, particularly in the church. There's a level of earning that is acceptable, but then there's a level beyond that that feels greedy or selfish or self-indulgent. And those levels are different in each community, but I do feel like we don't talk about this topic enough to have people really see the beauty in boundaries and organizing and stewarding our time and our resources in total, not just our finances. And also, it's okay to make money. It's okay to bring value and add to your company and to your team that you're on, and as a result, be paid well for the value that you're bringing. That is allowed. That's wonderful. There's nothing wrong with that. But both of those kind of sides of the equation can become a really mutated version of this conversation of stewardship. Let me explain what I mean by that. We can have a view of work that is dreary and dull and frustrating. We can see work as just a necessary means to an end. We can think of our paycheck as I trade time for money. And that's a very common conversation. It's just time is money. I give you my time, you give me your money. That's how this trade-off works. And that can actually stall us out in being a diligent earner. And so we can basically see this whole experience of work as this toil and this misery. And that is not what faithful stewards need to approach work as. It needs to be an opportunity to honor the king with his resources. The skill that you're bringing to that work that you're doing, the skill and the talent and the history and the know-how and wisdom that you are walking into that door with was given to you for a purpose. And when we step into our work with an awareness that we are honoring him with what he gave us, it should change the way we think about this exchange. When I walk into my employer, the way I want to be thinking about it as a faithful steward is this is my opportunity to add value, to give what God has given me to others, and to put his glory on display, to give him credit for the fact that I know this stuff or that I have this skill or this particular ability is not mine, but man, I'm really excited to share it with you. And now the work becomes in one way an exchange of value rather than time. I am giving you value and you are paying me for that value. And if that takes me an hour, it takes me 10 minutes, it takes me 3 hours, 3 days, whatever that trade-off is, the time component is less of the issue. The issue is, am I bringing value? Am I being diligent in providing enough value in the work that I'm doing? And so we want to be diligent and we want to be effective and we want to be really important on our teams because we are honoring God by serving those who are on our team with the gifts and the talents that he's given us. On the other side of the equation, you can see people start to take ownership of that skill. They start to say, well, I put in the work, I got the degree, I worked my butt off to get to this place, and so it's mine. So I take credit for it. I never give glory to God. I did it. I built it. I made all the things happen. And so I get to keep the reward that comes with more and more diligent work. The thing that's really fascinating to me is these become driven earners. They become earners that are so obsessed with more, with status, with title, with accomplishment. What we lose sight of in that lure of more, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that concept later, but this lure of more that's always saying, if you just worked, one more weekend or did a couple more nights away traveling, if you just did this, this, and this extra, then you could have more. Then you'll get to the next step. You'll get to the next, promotion, the next title change. That is intoxicating. But what we lose sight of in that process, because we experience life in the marginal change. What we're used to just disappears. It's normal. It's just how life feels. We feel the change. We feel the difference. We feel what it feels like to have the next level of more. So it's that next nicer house, that next nicer car, that next promotion title, that next team to lead, that next project to close. Whatever that next thing is, that's what feels different. And so we're constantly attracted to more. But we also experience the cost of that more the same way. It's in the marginal change. It's only one more night a week that I'm working late. It's only one more weekend. It's only one more, day that I'm traveling a month. And we lose sight of what we're already sacrificing in order to achieve what we have, in order to accomplish what we're accomplishing. We don't recognize the full cost of that. And so on one hand, you have people that might be more flippant, less committed, less energized, and certainly not motivated to honor God with their work. They're just working to get a paycheck. They're just trading time for money. And on the other side of the extreme, you have people who are overcommitted, overdriven. They are earning at a relentless pace because they can. And they start to find their identity in that. They start to see their power and their status grow, and they really get intoxicated by that. And they never really needed that level of income that they're earning, but they just keep going. The big thing I want to draw attention to in those two extremes is the fact that both of them are losing sight of what God is calling us to. Both of them have fallen away from this really valuable, productive call to be engaged in meaningful work. There is a beauty to that. There's a character to it. There's a sense of purpose. There's a reason to get up and get after it each morning. There's a lot that is valuable to us having work to do. And so we need to stay engaged in meaningful work, but we need to set really intentional boundaries around where we're being diligent earners and when we've tipped in to that driven, relentless earner type of position. So where we want to teach faithful stewardship is in this space of being a diligent earner, where earning is not something we're afraid of. It's not something we're against. It's not something that makes us feel selfish or greedy. It is the result of bringing value. It's the result of being valuable to the team that you're on. That's a good thing. But we also draw lines that say this far, no further, where we are intentional as we step into that process of productive earning. We say, this is as much as I need. This is where we're drawing the line. And so I'm not going to overproduce. I'm not going to exhaust myself and sacrifice my family and go beyond. That is not what faithful stewards of all resources do, right? That is not being a faithful steward of your time. It's not being a faithful steward of your family, of your relationships, of your own, physical well-being. So many times we see people basically discard the call to be faithful stewards of all these other things so that they can just get more money. There is a point where we need to say, man, it's good that I'm human. It's good that I have limits. God designed me to have this much productive capacity. And I want to honor him with all of that productive capacity. I want to give that in value and meaning and purpose. I want to be really helpful on the teams that I'm on. But I'm also going to embrace the fact that I'm limited in my ability to do more. And that's because God calls us to rest, to Sabbath, to have this rhythm that allows us to launch into work and then rest, and then launch back into work and rest. And so often this over focus on earning can become the thing that distracts us from that core function of being with each other, being in deep relationship with our Creator and with his creation. One of the things that I think is so fascinating, if we start to teach a more holistic understanding of stewardship, is that it changes the way that we approach our work. It should change the way that we approach our careers, where we're not desperate for more identity, more status. We are always excited to give our value, to engage, to be meaningful and productive in our work, because it's honoring. It's an honoring use of the resources and the skills and the time that God has given us. But it's not about us climbing the corporate ladder just for the sake of climbing and getting a different business card. It's not about us climbing those ladders just so that we can create more income and increase our lifestyle. It is an opportunity for us to reflect who God is in the workplace. I am convinced that the marketplace, the workplace, is actually the tip of the spear. It's where people are gathering. It's actually where church happens now in a lot of cases, because a lot of people aren't going to church. They're watching it online. They're not in community. Community is now happening in the workplace. I think I've had conversations with people where I'll step into a group full of business leaders or just professionals, and I'll ask the question, who here is in full-time ministry? And maybe one person who happens to be a pastor will raise his hand or her hand. And I say, until every hand in this room goes up, we're missing the point. Because when we're diligent earners, we see our work as a pathway to earning, yes, but we also see our work as ministry. We also see our work as an opportunity to be in community, to be intentional with our time, to maintain enough margin in our days that we can see people who are hurting and care for them. We can be Jesus to people in the workplace when they don't expect it. We can show them who God is by modeling to them the fact that we have limits, that we are human, that we are called to rest, that we don't overwork, putting boundaries in place so that the team around us feels permission to have those same boundaries. Those are the kinds of things I think Christians in the workplace, if they are diligent earners and really see themselves as stewards of the skill and the talent and the time that God has given them, I think we could change cultures inside those workplaces if we start to see ourselves in that light of faithful stewardship of those things. That's what could actually lead to a change in some of these environments where the expectation is overwork and overproduction. And so we have an opportunity to call people to that, to help them see what stewardship looks like in that setting of the workplace. And we also have an opportunity to help them start to draw some lines. One question that we'll get pretty frequently is, well, how much money should I make? Like, if I'm really talented and I'm able to make more money, should I make more money or should I stop? Should I draw the line somewhere? Our position as a diligent earner is, if you can stay within the boundaries of your human limits, if you can say with a lot of confidence, I can do this, I have enough margin, I'm comfortable here, I'm steady, and I have an opportunity to earn more because I'm adding more value, I'm creating more value, go for it. But the key is defining ahead of time what is enough. What is your life cost? Where do you draw the line? We call this our lifestyle cap. We're going to talk about that when we talk about spending next week. But the lifestyle cap is also really important when it comes to earning, because we have this tendency when we are over-earning or we're diligent earners that we just allow our lifestyle to continue to creep up to what we're earning. We keep buying the next thing and spending whatever we get in a raise, and we're constantly chasing our income. But if we draw the line and say, this is enough, this is contentment, this is satisfaction, this is enough for me to save what I need to save, pay the debt down I need to pay down, live the life I want to live. And if I draw the line, then anything that's extra is abundance, and we can give it away with confidence and with clarity. And we're going to talk about in the generous giver section what it looks like to really establish that awareness, that confidence in the abundance that we have. But the only way we can really feel that sense of abundance is if earning is not matched with spending, if we don't just constantly chase our paycheck with more spending on our lifestyle. And so that lifestyle cap concept is a really important piece. Come back next week when we talk about prudent spending, because that's going to be a big part of that conversation. But it also impacts the way we approach earning. What should you earn is not actually the question. The question, in my mind, the way we want to be thinking of it is how we approach work is that we want to be productive. We want to give ourselves away in service to the team that we're on, the company that we're a part of. We want to honor God with our diligent work. We want to add value and exchange that value for a paycheck, and that's great and that's fine. And we don't need to worry about earning too much, because we can always give it away. If God gave us the resources to create that earning with Him, and there's more than we need, we are blessed to be a blessing. Now we have the opportunity to turn confidently to generosity with so much more willingness and obedience, because we've drawn those lines. And so the earning question, this idea of diligent earning, yes, We should be productive in our work. We should be going to work. We should be doing things that are co-creating and building. That is part of the design. It was part of the design at creation. But that needs to be in a space where it is within our God-given limits, where we are not sacrificing and overextending ourselves and costing ourselves too much to create income that we are just allowing our lifestyle to chase. That's what it looks like to balance all of these moving parts as a faithful steward. Be a diligent earner, not a relentless earner, not a desperate earner, but a diligent earner who's balanced and confident and steady and knows that they are bringing value, but they're doing it in a way that's sustainable. Come back next week when we dive into spending. We're going to talk about what it looks like to be a prudent spender and how we balance this idea of lifestyle cap in both the income and the spending side to truly create that abundance that we can step into obedience with and be generous. Well, thank you so much for listening to the Faithful Steward Podcast. Be sure to check out the show notes for links and other information that we mentioned in today's episode. Also, be sure to check out our website at goodsensemovement.org to get all the resources we offer churches to help equip them in teaching financial stewardship to their community. If you have any questions or any topics you want to make sure we cover on our show, you can email me at jameslenhoff@goodsensemovement.org. I'd love to hear from you. I hope you all have a great week. We'll talk to you next week.